Welcome to the ACC Panic Room alongside Lauren Brownlow. I'm Joe Ovies. And Roy Williams Roy Williams talked about it this week as it relates to his North Carolina team. He can't make sense of them. Like he was using this analogy of like, I don't know, ask the guy who's got his fifth wife. Does he really know her? Like that kind of stuff, right? And I guess Roy Williams was rewarded with an all-encompassing range of things from North Carolina in what ended up being a crucial win for the Tar Heels over Florida State.
Yeah, and I kind of understand that on some levels. Like even when I was looking into previewing this game, I was looking at like UNC's free throw percentages this year, and I
Mm-hmm.
realized that within the course of like the same week, literally, they had had their worst one of the year. They shot like 38% against Louisville or against Northeastern or something. I forget who they did
Right.
it against. No, it was Louisville. It was Louisville.
It was
And then
Louisville, yeah.
yeah, and then like 3 days before they had shot like 82. And it's like that's the same basketball team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's kind of how they are. I mean, there are some things they consistently do poorly, I suppose, or consistently do well. Like they
I mean, they
usually
turn the
rebound well, you
yeah, they
know?
rebound well, but they also turn the ball over a lot.
That's
They
consistent.
That's consistent, I guess. They're also not the best perimeter team, even though they
Right.
can get some big shots from Kerwin Walton, which is the
Yes.
case here. I was thinking about this. Like, I wanted to call North Carolina like the manic pixie dream team of the ACC, right? Because never in a million years would I think the way they were playing in the first half, that they
I
would
think
come
Sarah
back.
might have that on lock, to be honest.
Maybe that's the case. But in the second half where they don't miss a free throw, in the second half where what does North Carolina, what does Roy Williams want to do? Get the freaking ball inside. But when we talk about getting the ball inside, what do we talk about? Get it to Armando Baycott. Get it to Dayron Sharp. Instead, it was Walker Kessler who decided to be the man, the myth, the legend in their comeback win over Florida State. But so what I kind of did you ever watch New Girl with
Yeah.
Zoe Deschanel?
Yes, no, I know that this is like your yeah, I'm
Well,
familiar
this
with
this
this.
is. Did you watch the show though?
Yeah.
Okay, you watched the show, but this isn't about Zoe Deschanel because I think most people understand that I'm a fan of Zoe Deschanel.
Right, right.
Uh, but I don't want to make it about her. I actually want to make it about the male characters. I think we can agree that Schmidt is Duke, right? And
Yeah, I
then
guess so.
Winston's probably State, and then you've got Nick Miller, right? Who's got this particular chaotic energy about him. But what ends up happening with Nick Miller? Like he could be like a complete mess and an emotional mess. He doesn't know like his own feelings. He's here, he's there, whatever. But at the end of the day, things actually end up working out for him. He keeps like pulling, whoever. I think that's North Carolina. I think North Carolina's Nick Miller at this point in time.
Yeah, I can see that. It's just it's a weird. They are definitely very strange, and I'm not. And I think that's one thing for Roy too is that he's not quite used to so much unexpected. You know,
Right.
at this
Right.
point of the year with his team, like sure you can take bad losses here and there. That's not really the point. Like for
Hmm.
this team to lose the game they did to Marquette in the middle of the week after having responded so well to having a midweek game the week before. And they just looked like, I mean, you could see when they were playing that game for the first half, it looked like they were uninterested. And it's like, well, you guys were the ones that kept saying you want to play this game. Like,
Right.
y'all gonna play or and in the first half of the Florida State game, I don't think they looked uninterested. I think they looked overwhelmed. Like they were
No, yeah, Florida
like,
State. I mean, look, I tweeted this out. It's like, hey, this just in, Florida State's really, really good. This is as Aaron Beard of the Associated Press pointed out too. It's like, look, this is a veteran team. They know their roles. They've played well,
yeah,
and like this whole business of do they even play road games was eliminated at least in the first half, given the way that North Carolina was playing. But somehow they put it all together, and it gets back to the NCAA tournament, right? The Marquette loss kind of made some people wonder, okay, can you still do enough to get into the NCAA tournament? But it didn't really matter, the Marquette loss, if they could beat Florida State,
yeah,
which is
correct.
exactly what happened. And now they're on the right side of the bubble. Now, this can easily go away from them because if they're going to be the manic pixie dream team of the ACC, they could easily turn around and lose some games. But they needed this one if they were going to get in that conversation. So good for them.
Well,
Duke, on the other hand, but
I
no,
was
what were
gonna
you going to
say,
say?
yeah, kind of. I think for me, honestly, at this point now, this gives them two quadrant ones. Syracuse is still a quadrant one. I'll probably stay that way. So
Yeah.
if you win that one, you got 3.
Louisville
Great.
remains a good win.
Duke is like, I think at this point now that they've got 2 quadrant ones and they don't have an opportunity for a bad loss until the ACC tournament, I don't think this is a conversation for North Carolina, regardless of what happens the rest of the way until we get to the ACC tournament. Honestly.
That's fair. Fair. And I don't think the conversation is over with Duke either. Overtime loss to Louisville yesterday. I think we all understood that Louisville was not as bad as they were in Chapel Hill coming off their second COVID pause or whatever COVID pause that was.
Yes,
they were not 45 points getting beat bad. I think we understood that.
No.
So they put it together against a Duke team that had won 4 in a row, looking like everybody got their roles. I didn't think Duke played necessarily bad. I think Louisville was good too. And I also don't think that their loss necessarily puts them out of the equation. They still got some decent enough games down the line, including that game against North Carolina. Even the Georgia Tech game is a decent game for Duke, provided they win. It would have been nice to bank
it's a
this
quad
Louisville
one
win.
for them. Yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been nice for Duke to bank this win. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it completely sinks them. Right now, though, I guess you could make the argument that Duke is like the backup prom date for the NCAA with the new contingency plans.
Yeah.
Things fall through. Hey, did you want to go?
I have honestly felt this way about. Somehow this feels like Duke's destiny because what would upset people more than Duke like subbing in for a 1 seed or something like that? Nothing would upset. Like, can you imagine right before this 116? And it's like, hey, Duke, what you doing? People would lose their minds. People would lose their minds.
The NCAA selection committee hits Coach K up, you up. You're like, hey, my date fell through. What are you doing? You want to hang out?
See, and I get it in the sense because, like, I get it in the sense of this, right? This is a team that, to the committee's eyes, doesn't even do enough to make the NCAA tournament.
No,
and you're gonna
absolutely not.
and you're gonna tell me that you're gonna give them a 1 seed draw? What? Really?
Love it.
That could potentially happen. Are you serious, NCAA, with this?
It's the pandemic tournament, Lauren. Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
I'm just saying. Like, I am both somewhat intrigued to see this because I know it would make everyone go crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I get some of the crazy because, like, you're telling me this team doesn't do enough during the course of the year to make the NCAA tournament. You're going to give them a 16 seed, an 8, whatever.
But the thing is, I mean, we can use Duke as the example here, and that I agree with you. It would upset a lot of people. I think people need to start preparing themselves now.
Yeah.
For such a thing to happen. It might not be Duke that finds themselves in that situation.
And it might not be a 1 seed, by the way.
It might not be a 1 seed. But there's going to be a situation. Oh, God, if it's a 16, that would be hilarious.
See, that's the other thing, too. If you're the NCAA, you can't tell a 1 seed, like, hey, you haven't lost all year. Good for you. By the way, here's Duke in your first game. Best of luck. No.
Hey, sorry, the team that you're supposed to play fell out, so they had a COVID pause. So sorry about that. But you also have to remember too, for those who are a little lost here as it relates to what's going on with the NCAA, we can close on this.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, it's whatever. Even I still am having like a hard time understanding the logistics of what's about to take place on Selection Sunday, 2 weeks from now. So my understanding is, having read the contingency plan, the NCAA tournament committee will have their bracket. They'll put out their 68 teams, and there's like a window of time between the Sunday bracket reveal and I think sometime Tuesday night, where if something happens where a team that was selected cannot go to the NCAA tournament, they would then have a team enter, right?
Okay.
But the tournament field gets frozen Tuesday night, meaning that, like, let's say, I don't know, we'll use what's an ACC team? We'll use Florida State. So we've been talking about Florida State. Florida State's in the NCAA tournament regardless. We don't know what seed they are. But let's say their opponent ends up having to bail because of the COVID pause. They will advance to the next round with a no contest. They're not just going to, like, at the last minute say, oh, by the way, it's Thursday. We know your first round game's tomorrow, but this team just bailed, so you get Duke today. Like, that's not how that's going to happen. Okay. So the contingency. The contingency
is even Duke haven't played. Just saying. And they're not going to.
This is a good point. This is a good point. So it's important to note that like they're not just going to pull somebody from the NIT and be like, "Hey, I know you're supposed to go to New York, but you want to go to Indianapolis instead." Like, I don't think that's how that's going to happen once things get frozen. Because it's fair to the teams. I mean, you don't want to
because you don't want to make them prepare for somebody else either. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing too to keep in mind too is that this only happens with like the auto bid leagues, if I'm with the multi bid teams. But well, we got time to figure this out. We got time to figure this out between now and
don't ruin this scenario that would have just made a nation of basketball fans.
Oh, that's clearly still in play. Again, there's that window of time between Sunday and Tuesday where something like this could happen. So that's fingers crossed that we do get that sort of chaotic.
And that's not even to say Duke would be last four out. We just don't know. We don't even know that Duke would be last four out at this point. They could just make the field altogether. But I think what the loss to Louisville does is just sort of make it that they have to, beat Georgia Tech, win in North Carolina. That gives them 2 more quad ones, and then. I mean, not win the ACC tournament, but
And now that I'm thinking about it, if I recall correctly too, because I don't have the contingency plan in front of me, so pardon me. Sorry if I'm wrong on this, but we'll get this all figured out in the week ahead. Like, the team that leaves, like if the team can't make it, it has to come from the conference. So like Duke would have to replace an ACC team if I have this right.
Oh.
So.
Why?
So I think that's the case. I think that's the case. It has to come from. I think it has to come from a multi.
Because of the money.
I don't know. Like I can't speak to that, but I'm pretty sure the team has to come from the conference if the conference team is out. So
that could also make a nation of fans lose their mind because they look at the ACC and think it's not very good this year, and so like some random ACC team. Yeah.
We'll get all that figured out. I have to go. I wasn't. Let's put it this way. I did not think we'd be talking about that this morning, and my coffee hasn't completely kicked in yet. But we'll get all that stuff figured out.
Look, I just am trying to imagine the scenario that's going to upset the most people, so that
I'm with you.
Find amusement in it.
I'm with you on that. We're gonna double up on panic rooms today. So we talked a little Duke Carolina this morning. We'll be back at it this evening. We got NC State and Pitt at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
So we'll be hitting a panic room sometime around 6:30, 7 o'clock today. So we'll see you then.